The disease of addiction does not discriminate, right? So it impacts all walks of life. And, unfortunately, what we're seeing today, particularly with fentanyl, is the overdose rates and the addiction rates are as high as they've ever been. And that impacts the whole community. So if you can address addiction and get people clean and support that, well, then obviously all of those things that are associated with addiction, drug dealing, and theft and assault, all of that is addressed and goes away to some degree, and you improve the communities, and it makes it a much more attractive urban area for people to live and raise their families and be out at night and not have to worry about those things occurring. So it truly is a social problem, and addressing it at the addict level will help to alleviate that.
I'm Laura Welch. I'm the manager of the House of Freedom and Miracles, which is under the Serenity Recovery Network. I came to the house after I went through treatment for alcoholism in July 2021. One of the biggest things that happens for us is our self-esteem is shattered and our autonomy is sort of lost through addiction.
There's some unique aspects, particularly for women, who, when they have children, often they're estranged from their children, or their children are in child protective services or what have you, and they need to have stable housing, and they need to make sure that they have a safe environment.
I got clean almost 11 years ago. I had 2 children that I had lost prior to me getting clean. So I ended up trying to come off drugs, and I just could not do it on my own. And I ended up in the psych ward trying to get help. And they told me of the House of Freedom and Miracles, and I called the lady, and she was like, "We have a bed for you if you want to come in." And I did a little assessment with her, and so I was like, this is the place I have to go to.
One of the things that we've done really well is give women the opportunity to build a foundation of staying clean and sober here in our home. Where we are unable to continue to help them is once they leave here and they transition out of our home and reunite back with their children.
People go out and they find an apartment in an area that they can afford, but it's not so nice, and you can't prevent the drugs and alcohol that will be around.
I stayed at HFM for about 10 months. I got my own apartment, and then my kid's dad handed my daughter right back. It's already overwhelming when you move out on your own. You don't have that accountability. You don't have the people surrounding you, and it's very hard. And I've seen a lot of people use because they got their kids right back with no accountability, nothing. And it's overwhelming.
What happens when they separate themselves from the help that they had when they lived here in that routine and that structure, when they separate themselves from that, they set themselves up to be tricked by the disease of addiction, and then they put drugs back in their body, and we hope to God that they make it back and they don't die, because that's such a reality in our community today, is that people don't just use one time. You don't just relapse. People put drugs in their body and then they die, and then they don't have any other choice again. And those children that they fought so hard to get back, those children end up orphans. I've seen it countless times. And so if we're able to house women as they're reintegrating back with their children, as they're reuniting with their children, if we're able to house them on our property, on our campus, they'll have that support. They'll have that connection.
We have recently bought a lot next door that was empty, and then next to that there was a building that we actually made an unsolicited offer on that we are going to turn into apartments, and specifically apartments for women with children. And then in the open space between, we're going to create gardens, and we're going to create a play area for children and a community center.
You're surrounded by other women going through the same thing you're going through. And so I truly wish that I had that.
They'll have that love, that unconditional love, that legacy of love that this program has offered so many men and women, where they'll be more set up for success, where they can reintegrate with their children and be supported and helped and guided through life's struggles.
This is going to be a powerful vehicle to help support people in their recovery, and not only benefit that community, but also the community at large.